The Winfrey Empire was founded by Empress Ludovica Owen Winfrey, who unified the continent. The entire nation was in a period of peace and enjoying a golden age, except for one place, the Imperial Palace. Just then, Rowena was swinging a broom down hard, her expression ice cold, as the blow struck Ansia's shoulder. A bizarre black substance streamed from her eyes, and the spot where she was hit suddenly glowed as if by magic. More of the black substance flowed from her eyes as she groaned in pain, clutching her shoulder and stumbling backward. Rowena, however, pulled the broom behind her back. Beneath Ansia, her shadow seemed to be moving, and her raspy voice carried a sense of unwillingness. "No, I don't want it to be like this." Black pillars erupted from the ground, clinging to Ansia as she staggered, about to lose her footing, her hair falling in front of her face. Ansia clutched her face, a crazed look flashing in her eyes. Her eyes were pitch black, the dark substance streaming out like two streams of tears, and her screams were ear-piercing. "I don't want to disappear like this." The black shadow behind her wore the exact same expression when suddenly a voice called out from behind. Rowena aimed for that spot, and at the same time, the grotesque thing behind Ansia lunged at Rowena. She showed no fear, her voice devoid of emotion as she replied, "Understood." Rowena crouched to gain momentum and then leaped forward. The black shadow aimed for her like a sharp spike. Rowena deftly dodged it, but the thing grazed her hair, cutting off a few locks. She used the broom in her hand to powerfully smack a nearby spike. Rowena spun, her hand with incredible grace, a look of excitement on her face, and with a single flick, she blocked Ansia's attack. Rowena moved closer and closer to her. Ansia gritted her teeth in fury. Seeing her chance, Rowena swung the broom back, preparing to bring it down on her, her eyes filled with determination. "Your purification magic is a higher level than the dark magic, activating purification." Rowena had already knocked the black substance out of Ansia's body. After that, she collapsed. Rowena propped the broom on the ground and let out a long sigh. "It's safe now, right?" A voice called out from behind. In response, "Of course it is, you did great." Rowena looked completely confused. "Huh?" The owner of the voice was Prince Kadin, who was covering his mouth to stifle a laugh. "You took down a monster with just a mop. Only you could pull something like that off." Hearing this, Rowena stiffened slightly, thinking to herself, "That's right, I forgot someone was watching." She forced a smile and turned to reply, "As long as it's effective, the weapon doesn't matter, Your Highness." Kadin was shaking from trying to hold back his laughter. Still, defeating it with that thing. What a rare sight. Seeing this, Rowena said helplessly to him, "You can just laugh out loud, you know." Hearing her say that, Kadin's eyes lit up like stars. "In that case, I won't hold back." With that, he burst out laughing, making Rowena blush beet red with embarrassment, but she couldn't do a thing. Kadin said to her between laughs, "Not many people could do that, which makes you even more amazing, Rowena. The reason I had to fight a monster with a mop, it all started after I died and went back 3 years in time. My name is Rowena Idalia, and I work as a maid in the prince's palace. For some unknown reason, my master, the prince, doesn't let anyone near him except for me. Her master is the empire's only prince, Kadin Arno Winfrey." At this moment, he was sitting on the sofa, sipping a cup of tea. "The tea is good today." "There." Rowena placed her hand over her chest and bowed gently, replying, "Thank you, Your Highness. Thanks to you, I have less cleaning to do, compared to the other maids. I can spend more time attending to you this way." Also, there was another person in the room, the Empress of the Winfrey Empire, Ludovica Owen Winfrey. She spoke coldly. "Well then, my prince, allow this mother of yours to tell you something that will make the tea taste even better." Kadin replied with a cold stare, "I find this tea to be perfectly fine." Ludovica chuckled lightly, "But I want to say it, so you'll just have to listen. Of course, since I'm the only one who attends to him, I always get caught up in situations like this. When elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. The two of them don't get along very well, probably. Because Prince Kadin is the only prince in the empire, but he hasn't been appointed as the crown prince." While she was lost in thought, Ludovica began to speak. Today, even the prestigious Duke Ruthen swore an oath of loyalty. Kadin's expression stiffened, his eyes wide with disbelief. Seeing his reaction, she pushed herself up from her chair, her voice incredibly sharp. "Checkmate. Just play your part, live peacefully, and adapt to this world. The tea was truly delicious today, Your Highness." With those parting words, Ludovica left. A moment later, Kadin propped his forehead on his hand and let out a long sigh. Seeing how distressed he was, Rowena grew worried. He always looks so gloomy after the Empress leaves. Should I offer him his favorite sweets? Just then, Kadin called her name, Rowena. She flinched in surprise and replied immediately, "Yes, Your Highness." He turned to look at her and ordered, "That will be all for today. You may go back." "To your room?" Rowena asked in surprise. I can leave this early?" He confirmed in a deep voice, "Yes, it's best to be inside before sunset. Lately there have been strange rumors about the royal garden." He paused abruptly, his thin lips tightening into a line. He warned her carefully, "Be careful on your way back." Rowena clasped her hands and fidgeted. Could he be, Rowena wondered to herself, worried about such ridiculous rumors? With that thought, she replied to him, "I understand. I will be careful." The sun began to set, dyeing the sky a poetic shade of violet, but a sorrowful one. As the sky continued to darken, Rowena walked through the garden with a lantern, heading back to the servants' quarters. As she walked, she muttered, "I pass through here all the time. Why does the garden feel so chilly tonight? Is it because the prince mentioned those strange rumors?" She looked down, a hint of anxiety and fear in her eyes. The strange rumor was spreading throughout the palace. People said there was a monster lurking near the prince's palace, and for those who get entangled with it, it takes over their body and turns them into someone completely different. Still, a monster in the palace? There's no way something like that could slip in without anyone noticing. It's completely ridiculous, just a silly rumor. Even though she thought that, she still felt a bit scared. After all, I'm feeling really unsettled right now. Alright, I need to get back quickly. Right then, a scream echoed, causing her to freeze in place. Rowena spun around, her face filled with confusion. The scream. The light from her lantern wasn't very bright, and the darkness in front of her seemed like a monster, ready to swallow her whole at any moment. She started to waver. Someone in the back garden needed help. Rowena sprinted towards the sound of the scream, her thoughts racing. A scream from the back garden? An intruder? This has never happened before. First, I have to check the situation, and then report it to the guards. Suddenly, Rowena froze, her eyes wide with utter shock. Right in front of her, a black substance was enveloping a maid. The scene was incredibly grotesque, and her face turned pale and was covered in a cold sweat. What is that thing? A monster! I have to run, I have to get out of here! The black substance saw her and gave chase. It certainly wouldn't pass up prey that served itself up, and she was surrounded. Rowena was terrified beyond belief. Her body was frozen in place. No, it can't end like this, I don't want to die! Suddenly, Saturn's voice appeared. An experience that was utterly shocking. You have died, you have received the first death experience reward. This is a translucent letter. It continued to ask. You have accumulated enough experience to awaken a special skill. Do you wish to awaken it? Awaken skill. I have absolutely no idea what is going on. Saturn's voice continued. If you don't want to die, then accept. As she struggled to reach her hand toward the message. But I don't want to die like this. As her hand touched the text, it let out a satisfied smile, awakening complete. Rowena's face was filled with utter astonishment. Her eyes lit up as if she had seen a glimmer of hope. The gears of fate had turned. Saturn continuously announced, special skill time reversal has been awakened, now rewinding time to the most suitable point, as designated by the administrator. Rowena shot up in her bed, waking suddenly, her face covered in a cold sweat as if she had just had a nightmare. She immediately sat up, her expression still terrified. The pain is gone. Could it all have just been a dream? Of all the dreams I could have, why did it have to be a nightmare like that? Just as Rowena breathed a sigh of relief, she suddenly realized something. She looked around at the familiar scenery. Wait a minute, this is... Rowena clutched her head, wanting to scream, my room. This is the room I used 3 years ago. Rowena's expression darkened as she wondered, why am I here? Did someone bring me here? Someone else should be using this room by now. As she looked around, she suddenly realized, wait a second, that's my bag. That's my coat. Why are all of my things here? There used to be a burn mark right here. Rowena stared intently at the palm of her hand, her eyes filled with bewilderment and doubt. And just like that, the burn on my hand has also disappeared. None of this makes any sense. Unless I really returned to the past, 3 years ago, this would be impossible. I really went through all of that, facing that monster and then dying just like that. What is real? And what is just a dream? I can't tell anymore. I'm so scared. I don't want to die. Please save me. As she was panicking, a figure appeared at the doorway, followed by a gentle and warm voice. Rowena, you're finally awake? Rowena immediately turned her head to look. That voice, Ciela. She walked into the room and spoke to her with a smile. What's the matter? You slept in later than usual today. I'm already done washing up, so the bathroom isn't too crowded right now. So you should hurry and go. Ciela Rewan. Ever since I first entered the Imperial Palace with the Crown Prince, she was always by my side like the only sister I had. But Ciela vanished without a trace 3 years. We never knew if she was dead or alive, and now that very same Ciela is standing right in front of me. Seeing Rowena staring at her with teary, red eyes, Ciela asked in confusion, Rowena, why are you looking at me with such longing? Suddenly lunged forward and hugged her. Seeing her strange actions, Ciela gently patted her shoulder to comfort her. What's wrong? Did you have a nightmare? If Ciela is standing right in front of me, does that mean I've really returned to the past? Just then, that golden text appeared right before her eyes. Seeing it, Rowena's eyes went wide with shock, as if she'd been startled. Rowena forcefully pushed Ciela away, letting out a scream. Ciela looked at her, confused. What's wrong, Rowena? Her face pale, she mumbled. Something, it's watching me. Ciela, you can't see it? She shook her head and replied, there's nothing there at all. Anyway, now's not the time to worry about that. The bathroom will get crowded if we dawdle. Rowena stuttered a reply as Ciela pushed her along. Okay. Even as she was pushed into the bathroom, she was still in a daze. Saturn appeared again and revealed, listen here, Rowena, only you can see me, and when I speak to you, no one else will notice. After hearing that, Rowena rubbed her forehead and asked, so who are you? Saturn cheerfully replied, I'm the manager and observer of this world. Right. You can call me Saturn. Now my introduction is complete. Let me explain everything to you one step at a time. Of course, since your time is precious, Rowena, I'll explain while you take care of your business. He talked non-stop for nearly the entire morning, as bright sunlight streamed through the glass windows, illuminating the magnificent palace hallway. By now, Rowena had changed and was at work, chatting with Saturn as she walked. I have the power to turn back time. Does that make me a mage? He immediately clarified, this isn't magic, it doesn't use mana. It's a power tied to the soul. You can use it at no cost, it's called a skill. Rowena asked wonderingly. So I can go back to any time I want? Saturn replied, not yet. Your skill is still at a low level. When we made our contract, I chose a rather suitable point in time for you. Hearing this, Rowena silently recalled the moment her hand had touched his. There was still so much she didn't know, so as she sorted through some documents, she asked, okay, so how do I level up? Saturn chuckled and said, you need experience points. You can earn them through various daily activities, whether it's reading a book or cleaning. You'll get experience points just by experiencing things. As soon as he finished speaking, Rowena immediately interjected, hold on, Saturn. If I've already done all this, why don't I have any experience points? He replied, it's probably best if I just show you. Rowena's face was filled with excited anticipation until she saw her points, and she practically turned to stone. Huh? On the golden panel, Rowena's list of skills appeared, and at the very bottom of it, available experience 0. Staring at that big round 0, Rowena shrieked, why don't I have any experience points? Saturn explained that she had used every last point to awaken her skill. The news struck her like a lightning bolt. All of it? Saturn continued. Normally, you can level up a skill through practice or by using experience points, but the time rewind skill is special. It can only be upgraded with experience points. And the newer the experience, the more points you'll get. Once you get used to a task, the amount of experience you gain will decrease. That's why rare experiences give you the most points. For example, death. Rowena's face darkened as she braced her hands on the table. Will decrease. That's why rare experiences give you the most points. For example, death. Rowena's face darkened as she braced her hands on the table. A crazed look flashed in her eyes. So the more I die, the faster I'll level up? Saturn, no. Responding to her. His lips pressed into a thin line, and after a moment, he said, that's right, but dying recklessly is pointless. Don't get any foolish ideas. Those words struck a nerve. For her, I don't want to die either. So now that time has been reversed, can I survive, Saturn? He replied, you've only avoided that one moment. That monster still exists all over this world. Even now, it's still multiplying. Even if you leave the Imperial Palace, you'll still die in about 3 years. That's the fate you're currently on. Rowena clenched her fists and asked, can we stop that monster from multiplying? Saturn asked back worriedly, do you really want to do that? Her gaze was firm and asked, death? Saturn went on, if things go as they should, it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I'm also at the top of the wait list for civil servant housing, and I've never even been in love before. Hearing her whimsical list, Saturn grumbled, that's so unfair. What about me? Rowena crossed her arms, replying indifferently to Saturn, what does that have to do with anything? He cleared his throat, changing the subject back to the main point. All right then, let's start with something simpler. Mission set, save your best friend Sierra. Immediately, Rowena's voice became anxious and uncertain. Sierra, can I really save her? Saturn affirmed with certainty. Of course, now that you've returned, it's entirely possible. Sela Riwan is the key factor. When she disappeared, she was one of the best among the maids, and the number of monsters, full of determination. Of course I do. If I just let things be, I'll die again in 3 years. I want to live. I haven't even tried the special 5-layer parfait yet. Would be better. Still, if you can fix what has been distorted, you can reach the future you desire. Will you do it, Rowena? She looked at her palm, her eyes filled with immense determination. Rowena clenched her hand into a fist, her voice resolute. I'll do it. Let's give it a shot. Saturn gave Rowena a piece of information. Today is 3 days before Sierra disappears. Her expression instantly grew tense. 3 years ago, the head maid said Sierra, in the palace skyrocketed. But saving her won't be easy. You might even think that dying. If that's the case, I'll try to stay as close to Sierra as possible and get through these 3 days safely. From that day on, when Sierra was chatting happily with the other maids under a tree, she ran up and called out to her. Sierra! Seeing her, Sierra was quite surprised. Rowena, what's going on? She grabbed her hand, asking with a smile. It's our break time. I wanted to spend it with you. Want to go for a walk? She smiled brightly and agreed immediately. Sure, I'll go for a little walk. Nearby, the other maids waved and said to her, have a nice walk. Try to grab. Had taken a leave of absence, but she didn't take any of her belongings. Something definitely must have happened during those 3 days. Would be enough. Soon, dusk fell, and sighs marking the end of a long day of work could be heard. Finally, it's over. Rowena stood hidden behind a wall as Sierra's group of maids happened to pass by. I'm so sleepy and hungry. What should I do now? What else? Let's eat dinner and go to sleep. Spotting her, she immediately ran out. Ciela, are you done? I'm starving. What should I do now? What else? Just eat dinner and go to sleep. Seeing her, she immediately ran out. Ciela, are you done? Not done yet. Let's go back to the room together. When she and a few others went looking for a late-night snack, she immediately tailed them to the kitchen. Oh, I'll go with you. Good morning, Ciela. Let's hang out together, Ciela. Ciela. Whenever there was a free moment, Rowena would immediately run. Me a snack on your way. And so, the two best friends went for a walk together, their laughter and chatter lively. As if that, she muttered to herself, it's almost time to clock out. Noticing her behavior, Kadin watched her with a puzzled expression. He sighed, looking quite annoyed. And then Kadin called her name, Rowena. Startled by his voice, she replied, yes, sir. He stated flatly, you're checking the clock quite a lot today. Her face went pale as she thought, was it that obvious? Kadin coldly questioned. That's considered slacking, you know? Do you have plans after work? Rowena averted her eyes, avoiding his gaze. Yes. In her head, she thought, I'm sorry, Sir Kadin. He gave a small smile as he looked at her and said, to find Ciela. And now, she was sorting documents in Kadin's room. Her mind wasn't focused on the job. Her eyes kept darting to the clock on the desk. Kadin's hands traced over the text as he continued, That's right, but I've never seen you like this before. It must be a date you're greatly anticipating, isn't it? Now that I think about it, you didn't even realize that I was standing here. Rowena heard him and hurriedly denied it. That's not it at all. I just have an important errand to run. She scratched her cheek, thinking, why do I sound like I'm making excuses? Seeing her insist like that, Kadin finally relented. I see, Rowena. I hope you will stay by my side for a very long time, as you're someone I wish to keep with me permanently. So if you are thinking of getting married, please put it off for as long as you possibly can. Those words hit Rowena like a lightning strike. It has been almost 10 years since you started working under me. Rowena straightened her posture and replied, Yes, you hired me 10 years ago. Awayan replied, Hearing that is a great relief. By the way, have you met any new people lately? Rowena answered, I have met a few of the other maids. But why do you ask? Kadin propped his chin on his hand in thought and then turned to advise her carefully. Be careful of them, Rowena. She was rather startled by his words. Be careful? Kadin calmly replied, Yes, whatever form it takes, it can hide anywhere. When you're out of my sight, I can't protect you. Just then, I remembered what happened before I regressed. He warned me then as well. Does Sir Kadin know something? Rowena feigned ignorance and asked, It? What do you mean? What is it? He smiled gently at her, and after a moment, he said, It is a thing that is always hungry. It's dangerous to know more, so just remember that. Rowena was screaming internally. That already sounds plenty dangerous. After they finished talking, Kadin suddenly clapped his hands, a bright smile on his face, and told Rowena, In any case, your shift for today is over. I can't keep someone waiting in such anticipation. Rowena immediately responded, Thank you, sir. See you tomorrow. And with that, she opened the door and left. Kadin propped his hand on his forehead and let out a sigh. He murmured to himself, Rowena, there's been an unsettling aura around her recently. I truly hope nothing terrible happens. Evening was falling, the sky glowing with a golden sunset. While walking through the garden, Rowena talked to Saturn. Now that I think about it, Saturn, why did you form a contract with me? Her pace slowed. Rowena propped her chin on her hand and said, If your goal is to annihilate the monsters, then wouldn't there be someone more suitable? Saturn's voice, as if from right behind her, answered, No, I have no intention of destroying monsters. I only want. You survived. Hearing that, Rowena looked back at him in shock. We understand. Just then, a scream rang out. Rowena, get out of the way! She immediately turned to look forward, but it was too late to react. A sharp spike stabbed into her, and blood immediately gushed out. Rowena asked, trembling, What is happening? As she was sitting on the ground, clutching her wound, the maid Anzia approached and said coldly, I told you, you should have moved. Blood trickled from Rowena's mouth. Her whole body felt like it had lost all its strength. The pain was unbearable. Anzia casually looked at her nails and said, You're in the way. So I'm going to kill you. Rowena looked up at her, wondering, how can it look so human? She slumped to the ground. As the first catarode, monster's sharp spikes whipped around her. Rowena gritted her teeth and thought, that monster. Anzia looked down on her, her eyes like she was looking at prey, and said mockingly, What a shame. Rowena's blood was still on the tentacles on Anzia's body. It hurt so much. Am I going to die by a monster's hand again? Even if I have to die again, I won't give up. If I can change the future, I'm willing to risk my life, no matter how many times it takes, Saturn announced. Latest update. User's death has been detected. Special skill time regression has been activated. When the mechanical sound stopped, she woke up. Rowena. She looked around in a daze. She saw the familiar scene before her and realized, Did I come back? What day is it? Today, he answered Rowena's question. It's the same day as when you first returned. She got out of bed, put on her slippers, and sighed. I'm back. 3 days in the past. I never thought a monster was right beside me. Saturn immediately spoke up. Now you understand. Don't you? When he said monsters can be anywhere. Rowena looked in the mirror and whispered, Yeah. And her gaze was fixed intently on it. Rowena looked at her reflection in the mirror. It's not some grotesque monster. It looks just like a human. Just like me. I don't know what to do in a situation like this. If I just tell Sierra there's a monster nearby and tell her to run, I'll look like a crazy person. At this thought, her face fell. Rowena moved towards the door, saying, Even in this situation, I still have to work. I still have to pretend to be calm. But honestly, I'm terrified. The moment I step out of this room, a monster is hiding among the people out there. She looked warily at the laughing and chatting Anzia. I need to be careful, not to arouse any suspicion, but how can I save Sierra when I want to keep her away from the monsters? Right now, Rowena realized something. We work in 2 different areas, but if I just stick to Sierra, like last time, I'll just die again. Then, she closed her eyes to calm herself. Once her emotions stabilized, Rowena resolutely turned away. In that case, there's only one option left. The hallway was empty, and in the library, she said to Saturn, I have something to ask you, he replied magnanimously. If it's something I can answer, go ahead and ask. Rowena suddenly became curious. Do you think I can fight that monster? He seemed surprised by her question, letting out a soft Rowena continued. I've thought about it a lot, but there's really only one way. I have no other choice. I have to eliminate that monster. After a moment of thought, Saturn spoke. If you really want to fight, I can give you one piece of advice for fighting it, she asked in surprise. Advice? He smiled and affirmed. That's right. Because you've come back one more time, you can now access more information. Rowena didn't seem to have thought of that. Wait, something like that exists? Saturn calmly said. An ordinary person wouldn't understand. But a special being like you, Rowena, someone who can travel through time, gets special access. Access to learn the secrets of this world. Rowena, even if I wanted to tell you everything, I can't, she asked in disbelief. You can't? You're the administrator, Saturn. Aren't you basically a god? After a moment of silence, he denied it. No, I'm just the one who maintains the world's balance. Even if the beings in this world are in danger, as long as the world continues to run, I can't interfere too deeply. I'm sorry. All I can do is help you this much. Rowena was silent at Saturn's explanation, understanding his predicament, so she spoke up. No, it's okay, Saturn. Just this much has helped me a lot. The only reason I'm alive now is thanks to you. Hearing that, Saturn softly uttered, So then. Rowena eagerly asked, What's the method? He answered her question. You have to use a skill. Rowena was surprised. A skill? Saturn explained thoroughly. When those human-like monsters are cornered, they will reveal their true form. And that's when you have to strike using a skill. Her face paled at the realization. So in the end, I still have to fight them myself. He was pleased that Rowena absorbed the information so quickly. That's how the method works. Right? She asked with a glimmer of hope. Is there any other way? Saturn coldly refused. Sorry, that information has not yet been disclosed. Rowena replied dejectedly. Okay, but the problem is that I've never really fought before. I don't even know how to use a weapon. He suddenly raised his hand to point, saying, Based on your skill list, it's still possible. She stared blankly at the info panel before her, and after reading the contents, Rowena was completely baffled. She spoke in a daze. Come to think of it, Saturn, I've never used a spear before, but it's showing up on my skill list. What caught Rowena's eye the most was the D-rank spear proficiency. Why is my spear proficiency so high? Seeing this, Saturn surmised, it's probably because you've used a lot of tools that are similar to a spear. Since we've made a contract, similar items are all counted together. She didn't expect that. Tools similar to a spear? He smiled and pointed ahead. You're holding one right now. Rowena asked blankly, I'm holding one? Don't tell me it's this magic broom? Saturn smiled and confirmed. That's right. She exploded and yelled. You want me to use this thing to fight monsters? He encouraged Rowena. You can do it. She still couldn't accept this blatant reality. Can I really do this? Saturn spoke with conviction. Of course you can do it. Come on, Rowena, you're amazing. You can do it. Rowena waved her hand in frustration. You're distracting me, Saturn. I'm stressed enough about fighting with a mop. Then Kadin noticed that her expression wasn't good, so he asked with concern, Han, Rowena? She turned in surprise and replied, Yes, Sir Kadin. Kadin then spoke up. Could you come here for a moment? She approached him in confusion, asking, Why, sir? He called for me, Rowena. I walked closer and asked, Did you need something from me, sir? Kadin smiled at her. It's not about work. I have something I want to give you. Rowena was stunned when she heard that. For me? He held out his hand in confirmation. Yes, may I see your hand for a moment? Confused, she slowly lifted her hand. My hand? Kadin gently took Rowena's hand. Yes. This might be a bit sudden, but please bear with me. She became flustered at his action. Sir Kadin gently kissed Rowena's hand. Her eyes widened as she watched him. I didn't open a window, but a pleasant breeze just swept by. It feels like all my worries have just vanished. Then, Kadin looked up at Rowena's fair hand. It's only a temporary effect, but the forces of darkness won't be able to approach you so easily anymore. It won't block everything, and it won't last long, but I hope it helps at least a little. She looked at her hand, moved. Sir Kadin smiled at her, calling, Rowena, I know you're hiding something from me, so I'm worried. Because I care, that's all. I won't say any more. Just remember that you are very important to me. She clenched her fist with determination. In that case, Sir Kadin, Rowena told herself. All right, she declared clearly, I'd like to leave early today. Before Kadin's stunned gaze, Rowena thought, after everything he's done. Just to help me. He was a little surprised, but still agreed. Huh? All right, you can go then. I'll face it. And so, after submitting her request to leave early, she held her broom, glancing around cautiously. I made it here. Suddenly, a voice rang out, startling Rowena. Rowena, aren't you supposed to be working? What's going on? She stammered in reply. Well, I came to see Ms. Lambert. Sierra seemed to have noticed. Lambert? You mean Anne? Ah, isn't it working hours? And what's with that broom? She awkwardly hid the broom behind her back. What's wrong? Oh no, it's just that my mop broke. You remember how good Lambert is at organizing and sorting things? Sierra, of course, knows her, so I was planning to ask her for some advice. Then you've come to the right person. Ah, she's really good at that. Wait a second, I'll call her over. Anne! Rowena silently watched Sierra's back. Ansia Lambert, that's the monster's name. She started to worry. I don't know if I can defeat her. Suddenly Ansia called her Idalia. Rowena strengthened her resolve. I have to do this. Then she smiled at Ansia. Ms. Lambert, I wanted to ask for some advice. But this place isn't really suitable for a private conversation. So could we step outside for a bit? Under a dense canopy of trees, Rowena stood with her back to her. Ansia silently looked at the surrounding trees. Then she asked curiously, Idalia, how much farther are we going? I think we're far enough from the main path now, Miss Idalia. Just then, with a fierce look in her eyes, she swung the broom at Ansia. She quickly leaned back to dodge it. The broom handle stopped right in front of Ansia's throat. She cried out in fear, Miss Idalia, what kind of joke is this? Rowena's eyes blazed with killing intent. I'm not joking. I know exactly who you are, and I know exactly what you're planning. I'm going to separate you from Sierra. Hearing those words, Ansia burst out laughing. How ridiculous. So, that's why he keeps you around? But she was no pushover, unleashing her tentacles, her sharp ones. Rowena was lucky to dodge that last attack, while Ansia was still calmly summoning countless more tentacles. You're not even the one leading this world. Then what do you think you can do? She cautiously held the broom and backed away. Rowena caught the keyword in her words, the world's guide. Ansia said calmly, all right, suit yourself, if you want to take me down. Right? Then give it a shot. Ansia once again directed her tentacles toward Rowena, who held her broom ready to fight. At the same time, Saturn announced, your spearmanship skill has been activated. Rowena swung the broom lightly, unleashing a move to block her attack. After counterattacking, she thought, even though this is the first time I've officially used this broom in this way, it's strange that my body isn't unfamiliar with these movements at all. This is the power of a skill. He reminded her again. Your spearmanship skill has been activated. Rowena's body moved flexibly as she swung the broom to block countless attacks. Very quickly, she closed in on Ansia. She refused to lose as she launched another attack and let out a sound. Shh. Just then, Ansia's hand was hit by some kind of attack. Her arm froze, unable to move. Then, countless spots on Ansia's body were attacked, and Rowena looked on in surprise. At her, what's happening? Huh? Ansia used all her strength to attack her. Rowena was extremely agile, backing away to dodge. Then, she counterattacked and noticed something unusual. Since the beginning, it's like she's been hit by some skill, her movements always pausing for a beat. She was hit and hurriedly retreated. Rowena observed after fighting for a while. Come to think of it, her attacks either missed completely, or were as light as a tickle, with no damaging power whatsoever. Whatever the reason, thanks to that, even though I'm not skilled yet, I can still fight a match against her. At that moment, Saturn announced, your spearmanship skill has been activated. Ansia refused to give up and poured her power into the tentacles, launching a vicious attack. It quickly slammed into her defensive shield. The pressure from the tentacle was too strong, and it shattered the shield to pieces. Rowena was quickly captured by Ansia, stunned as she witnessed what just happened. She controlled the tentacle, quick as a flash, to grab Rowena, who was choked so tightly. She gasped for air and coughed loudly. And Ansia, having won, said calmly, Idalia, you're pretty impressive. Although it was only because that person was protecting you that I had such a hard time. At this moment, Rowena gritted her teeth, thinking, I can't breathe. She moved closer to her, remarking, but it looks like I'm stronger than you now. Did I fail again? Damn it. Just then, he displayed a notification. User's death has been detected. Your innate skill time reversal has been activated. Rowena remembered when she had just woken up not long ago, the moment she was changing clothes, as Rowena moved toward the twin doors. She ran into the other maids, once again starting a day just like the one before. At this moment, Rowena bit her lip in frustration, clenching her hands into fists. Just why? Did I fail? As I thought, is my own strength still not enough? No, that's not right. I definitely defeated that monster. That time. So, as long as I keep trying, I will definitely win. After all, I can repeat this countless times. Just then, Saturn suddenly appeared behind Rowena, calling gently, Rowena. Suddenly, a voice caught Saturn's attention. You're working early today, Rowena? Kadin felt helpless as Rowena was still lost in her own world, not noticing him. Kadin leaned his head against the bookshelf and thought, is she tired from working? Looks like I'll have to startle her a bit to lighten the mood. Then, Kadin approached and called out to Rowena. She jumped and turned towards him. A second later, Saturn looked worriedly at the dazzling light before them. The light on Kadin's body grew wider, and Saturn couldn't understand why a strange aura of light was appearing behind Kadin. He frantically thought, I didn't mean to do this. Is this the only way? Maybe this is just a normal phenomenon. Just then, his hand went to his head and he let out a, huh? Rowena, startled, spun around. Prince Kadin! I'm sorry, I didn't know you were here. Kadin immediately rushed forward to question her. Tell me the truth, she asked in a panic. What? His hands gripped her trembling shoulders. Until now, until this very moment, how many times have you died? In an instant, Rowena's face went pale. How could Prince Kadin know about this? Kadin released his hands from Rowena's shoulders and said, in my memory, before you died last time, I used a protection spell on you, right? That wasn't magic. Instead of calling it magic, it's more like an innate ability of mine. This ability, it is a power that only I, the king of the world, can use. To put it simply, this ability can observe and dictate the course of the world. After she heard this, she speculated, is it an ability similar to my skill? Meanwhile, he continued rambling on. But the protection spell, it isn't absolute protection. At most, it's just a wish, like, please protect someone or just a blessing. As simple as the wind that soothes one's heart. Please continue to blow. The protection spell that I cast on you at that time was a declaration that I will protect you, and then the world itself protected you. It was then that Rowena realized, so that's why the monster back then didn't attack us. But she confirmed aloud, that protection spell did manage to block a few attacks. The title, King of the World, sounds cool and all, but the ability is nothing that special. In the end, it seems the protection spell was dispelled. Kadin rubbed his chin in agreement. I think so too. In short, it seems that thanks to the lingering trace of the protection spell, combined with my ability, I was able to sense the things that happened to you. Saturn, who was watching from the side, said nothing. Suddenly, Kadin wondered, you've tried so many times already. Are you planning to not stop until you kill that monster? Rowena immediately confirmed. That's right, I won't ask you. How you managed to reverse time. It must be a skill similar to mine. Her words made Kadin chuckle. Then he carefully reminded her, but it seems that monster won't be easy to take down. Rowena understood that, and replied, that's true, but as long as I keep trying, I'm sure I'll get used to her attack patterns. Kadin felt confused. How many more times do you plan on dying? Hearing him say that, she fell silent, not knowing how to answer. Kadin was also at a loss for words. In the end, he suggested, I will go with you. Rowena immediately looked up. Prince Kadin? Before she could finish, he cut her off. Ah, but on one condition, I will not participate in your battle. Rowena, bewildered, let out a soft, huh? Seeing her reaction, Kadin explained, I can't. Destroy that monster, she decided to ask. Prince Kadin, you're surely better with a sword than I am, right? Her words. He made Rowena's face turn pale. I can deal with magic beasts, but that monster is something else entirely. But I will definitely help you. Just call for me when you arrive. I'll be waiting for you in the garden on the other side. A moment later, she was in her room, screaming with her head in her hands. This is insane, Saturn asked with concern. What's wrong, Rowena? Having more help is a good thing, isn't it? Rowena didn't think so. But that's His Highness Kadin. If Kadin gets hurt, I'm totally done for. She imagined herself being thrown in jail, charged with being an accessory to harming a royal and negligence of duty. He just calmly replied, well, he seemed really confident, so it'll probably be fine. Rowena clutched her head in anguish. I don't know. He did say he wouldn't participate in the battle, so I can only hope the monster recognizes his royal status and leaves him alone. Calling her out wasn't difficult. She gazed forward, where Anzia was, chatting with Sierra. Just then, she noticed Rowena watching her, and Anzia smiled with a slight nod, as if to greet her. I managed to do it before. Anyway, this scene felt familiar as Rowena stood, with her back to the other woman. She looked around and thought, His Highness Kadin must be somewhere nearby. Ah, good thing he's far away from us. Now, Anzia asked curiously. So, Idalia, what did you want to see me about? You even brought someone so noble with you. Hearing that, Rowena thought to herself, I guess His Highness wasn't intentionally hiding from her. That's why she noticed him. I have to fight while protecting His Highness Kadin. And all the while she continued, I understand now. Her eyes suddenly shifted, and Anzia spoke calmly. So that person wants to test me? This revelation left Rowena stunned. What? No, that's not it at all. How could you get it so wrong? Suddenly, Kadin spoke up. That's right, I've seen you around a lot recently. You were sent by your master to win me over, weren't you? He turned with a cheerful smile as Kadin raised his hand and made a proposal. Then show me what you're really capable of. If you can defeat my person here, I'll change my mind. Rowena felt like she had been struck by lightning. Looking back, Anzia gave a wicked smile. She expertly widened her stance and summoned countless tentacles from her body. Panicked, Rowena lifted her broom to fight. Your Highness Kadin, didn't you say you were going to help me? He cheered from the sidelines. Go get him. With a flick of her wrist, Anzia directed the massive tentacles to attack Rowena all at once. She instantly jumped into the air to evade. Rowena fell back with each tentacle strike, performing a series of movements with practiced ease. In the blink of an eye, a tentacle shot toward Rowena, and she instantly tightened her grip on her broom. To counter, Rowena easily took aim at the tentacle to retaliate, thinking to herself, thank goodness I got used to these attacks from our previous fight. Seeing this, she just smiled calmly. Then Anzia commented, not bad. Rowena was intimidated by her stare. Anzia wasn't finished yet, rushing forward. Then how about this one? A powerful attack came straight for her. Rowena let out a surprised gasp. But she reacted in an instant, trying to counter her directly. This is too much for me. Rowena couldn't hold her ground against the immense pressure, and stumbled backward. Staring at the sharp tentacle right in front of her face, she turned pale. This is dangerous. At that very moment, Kadin extended his arm and caught Rowena's shoulder, stopping her from falling over backward. Kadin immediately charged into battle. Rowena was stunned watching this, and Anzia was also terrified, not expecting him to act so rashly. Meanwhile, Kadin just calmly smiled. The bloody scene unfolded as Rowena screamed. Kadin rushed in and blocked the attack with his bare hands, blood dripping from his wounds. She called out in alarm. Kadin, you're bleeding. We have to treat that right now. But he told her not to worry about him, and that she should pay attention to the other one. Rowena froze for a second, then turned her head to look where he indicated. Anzia was hunched over, and a dangerous dark energy radiated from her. Anzia muttered, No, it can't be, Satan declared. The darkness has attacked the king of the world without permission. Anzia trembled and said, My power. Satan immediately decreed, punishment initiated. Anzia's eyes went dark as he shouted, Level down, level down, level down. Anzia was hunched over, and a dangerous dark energy radiated from her. Anzia muttered, No, the final level of darkness, from A rank down to D rank. Now, dealing with her should be a bit easier. Her head back to him. What? Kadin casually held out his healed hand. Look at this. Rowena's jaw dropped in shock, but the wound just vanished like that? He smiled and said, I only charged in because I had a safety net. She still looked a little worried. Kadin glanced at her and said, well, I didn't expect you to be so worried about me. I'm touched. Rowena snapped back, annoyed. The person I'm serving got hurt. Of course I'm going to worry. He stepped forward and instructed her, I'll hide somewhere safe, so you hurry up and deal with her. Kadin gave a little wave. Rowena couldn't help but watch him with concern. He told her, I'll be good and wait for you. Kadin looked down at his freshly healed hand. The phantom pain was definitely still there. Saturn turned his head to glance at him before turning to leave. Rowena gripped her staff and cautiously approached her opponent. Ansia was delirious and rambling. Please, spare me. I can't go down like this. Rowena noted, it seems like she's completely oblivious to her surroundings now. Satan urged, she'll remain in this state unless an outside force interferes. Ansia sat collapsed on the ground, muttering nonstop, our glory days, our great queen. Rowena hardened her resolve. All right, I'll finish her off quickly. Ansia kept rambling. She gave me a chance. Her Majesty Ludovica. The name startled her. Ludovica is the queen's name. Don't tell me the monster's backer is the queen? Saturn's voice cut in. Rowena, you need to focus on the monster in front of you. This is your chance to eliminate her, after all. She gripped her staff tightly and said, I know. Then Rowena took an offensive stance. She lunged forward with her staff. Ansia quickly realized she was under attack and instantly leaned back to dodge the move. Rowena raised her staff high again and swung it down without hesitation. Your spearmanship skill has been activated. The staff hit Ansia's shoulder. Her tears turned into a black fluid, slowly streaming from her eyes. Ansia clutched her body, appearing to be in immense pain. The dark power slowly faded away. She covered her face helplessly. No, you can't. Stop. Ansia clutched her face and screamed as the dark power inside her burst out. I don't want to disappear like this. The black sludge from Ansia's body began to coalesce. Saturn yelled a warning. Rowena, aim for that thing. The black sludge shot out tentacles that lunged forward. It attacked, and Rowena parried the blow. She took a running start and leaped, rushing toward her opponent with the staff. Then, she swung her staff back and with a single swipe, Rowena blocked the black sludge. Right after that, she twirled her staff, repeating the same move to knock away the black sludge. In no time, Rowena closed in on Ansia, seizing the opportunity to swing her staff back and land a direct hit on her opponent. Your spear mastery is higher. The darkness begins to be purified. Finally, Ansia fell. Rowena said with annoyance to Saturn, Are you satisfied now? He replied, Of course, you did well. Suddenly she realized something felt off, and just as she suspected, Kadin was standing in the corner watching, the whole time. I can't believe she used a staff to fight a monster. That's something only she would do. Rowena gave a forced laugh, thinking to herself, Oh right, I forgot we had an audience. Rowena smiled and turned to him. It doesn't matter what weapon you use, as long as it defeats the monster, right, Prince Kadin? Kadin tried to suppress a laugh, but using that kind of weapon to fight a monster is certainly a rare sight. Rowena glared at him with annoyance, but Kadin was still trying to hold in his laughter, so she gave up. Just go ahead and laugh your head off. Kadin didn't hesitate to reply, Well, if you insist. Then, he burst out laughing at Rowena's embarrassment. Saturn complimented her, You're one of a kind. You look even cooler now. Rowena pouted, So annoying. She then paused, thinking, But I can finally breathe a sigh of relief now. She looked up at the sky. Even though I was defeated so many times, by using the time reversal skill, I finally managed to defeat the monster. She smiled in satisfaction, and Rowena even stretched her arms, looking incredibly pleased. She turned to him, Prince Kadin, let's head back. Hey, why are you still laughing? The two of them walked along together. Oh, for goodness sake, stop laughing already. Kadin quickly replied, all right, calm down. The evening sun began to set. The scene changes. Back then, I thought everything would be peaceful from that day forward. I was so foolish. In the study, Ludovica was in a rage, smashing furniture, tearing up documents, and throwing them all over the room. She lowered her head, saying furiously, Just a king of a world in name only, who not only has no power, but also can't exercise any real authority, and he dares to touch what's mine? Ludovica let out a faint, dangerous smile. Then she straightened up. Very well, I was merciful and spared you before because you seemed so naive. Now, the time has come to deal with you. I will take the person you cherish most, and you will suffer so much pain from your own helplessness that living will be worse than death. In another place, Rowena and Kadin were laughing together. She focused, picturing Kadin's face, foolish king. It was a peaceful morning in the servants' dining hall. After all the chaos, Rowena carried her food tray over and sat next to Ciela. My life has finally returned to its peaceful old ways. Of course, it's not like there haven't been a few changes. Suddenly, someone called out to her, Oh, Idalia. Rowena smiled and asked, a little bewildered, Lambert, is there something you need? Ansia replied with a bright smile. Not at all. I just wanted to wish you a good day. With that, she took something out of her pocket. Ansia held out some small bags of cookies and said, This is a special reward from a surprise gift from the chef. They're cookies baked from the leftover dough. I helped the chef out, so he gave them to me. Rowena was even more confused. Ansia held out the bag of cookies, unable to hold back a smile. Sierra turned to ask Ansia, You seem very interested in Rowena lately? She smiled and replied, Well, I never really had the chance to get to know her before. Rowena laughed and said, Well, after all, we were each in charge of different tasks. Ansia spoke up, But But if things keep going like this, I'll never be able to close the distance between us. She suddenly stepped closer. I really want to get along with you peacefully. If you don't mind, may I call you Rowena? Sierra gasped in surprised delight and said, "This is the first time I've ever seen Anja be so proactive with someone." Anja felt that she was being a bit forward, so she quickly asked, "Ah, am I pressuring you?" Rowena shook her head frantically and replied, "Not at all." After that, she reached out and took the bag of cookies. Then Rowena said gently, "I look forward to getting to know you better, Ansia." Her smile moved Ansia, who smiled back in return. "Yes." Rowena spoke politely. "Thank you, I'll enjoy them." Ansia turned and waved goodbye. "All right, you two should work hard now." Rowena watched Ansia until she was gone. Then, she looked happily at the bag of cookies in her hand. The sky outside was clear and sunny. As Rowena walked and ate a cookie, she casually asked Saturn, "Ansia seems completely different from before, doesn't she?" He answered her, "That's because she was affected by the purification process." Rowena asked in surprise, "Purification?" Saturn explained, "That's right. A soul shrouded in darkness, once purified, is restored to its original state. So she has returned to her true nature." Rowena asked again just to be sure, "So her being so friendly to me is also because of the purification?" He replied, "Exactly. After all, if she hadn't been purified, her soul would have been completely consumed. You saved her, so a soul that has been saved by your purification, a person whose entire life has been changed, will instinctively feel a sense of goodwill towards you." Rowena scratched her chin, feeling a little embarrassed. "So that's how it is. I suddenly feel a little proud. This feels nice." Saturn suddenly piped up, "Rowena, but compared to anyone else, I'm the one who likes you the most." She nodded dismissively. Right. Saturn asked, "Are you even listening, Rowena?" Continent. Because the Empire's citizens are frequently harmed by them, the Winfrey Empire established. Scene changed to the drawing room. Rowena was forcing a strained smile and thinking to herself, that thought was completely wrong. Ludovica and Kadin sat across from each other, shooting daggers with their eyes today. They've been having this Cold War for almost 20 minutes now, haven't they? Ludovica was the first to speak, Prince. He replied politely, "Yes, Your Majesty," she said with her eyes closed. "This time, you have shown me your will quite clearly." Kadin faltered for a moment, and Rowena, standing to the side, wondered, "Will?" He took a sip of tea and said, "It was an eyesore, so I dealt with it. It seems my actions this time were to your liking, Mother. How wonderful." Ludovica's lips curled slightly, then she let out a loud laugh. Ludovica tried to suppress her irritation. "Of course, it was exactly to my liking, which is why I've arranged another task for you." Kadin asked softly, "Another task?" Then she declared, "Prince Kadin Akno Winfred, I, Ludovica Owen Winfred, in the name of the Empress of the Empire, appoint you as the Commander-in-Chief of the Demonic Beast Subjugation Squad, to represent the Imperial family and lead the troops to annihilate the demonic beasts, slay demonic beasts." Hearing this, his face immediately darkened. Ludovica closed her eyes, turned her head, and said, "Of course. You are a prince, after all. You must receive special care." Suddenly, she opened her eyes and her gaze landed on Rowena. Then, Ludovica said nonchalantly, "Since you won't allow anyone besides that maid to attend to you, then I shall decree that she is specially permitted to accompany you." Kadin gritted his teeth, looking utterly furious at her decision, while she stood there with her mouth agape, as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing. To have me go slay demonic beasts? Slay demonic beasts? The so-called demonic beasts are monsters that appear all over the... That thought was completely wrong. Ludovica and Kadin sat across from each other, shooting daggers with their eyes today. That she is specially permitted to accompany you. Kadin gritted his teeth, looking utterly furious at her decision. Kadin spoke up in protest. "I can go alone. Going to slay demonic beasts and bringing along a maid is just ridiculous." But Ludovica ignored him. "It is decided." Kadin slammed his hand on the table in anger. He stood up and shouted, "Your Majesty!" She paid him no mind, maintaining her indifferent attitude. Ludovica set down her teacup and reminded him, "Prince, this is an order." The atmosphere in the room grew heavy. Kadin glared at her with extreme anger. Ludovica sat calmly with a faint smile, then she opened her eyes, tilted her head slightly, and said, "It's precisely because you treat your own mother this way that there are rumors you've gone mad, isn't that right? Besides, the servant will just stay in the tent." Sat at her desk, deep in thought. She doodled on a piece of paper and sighed. "No matter how I think about it, I still feel uneasy. Right? Go and prepare for your departure." Ludovica walked past him, leaving Kadin with one last remark. "Today's tea was also delicious, Prince." He suppressed his anger, clenching his fists tightly. Rowena called out, "Your Highness." His voice trembled slightly as he spoke to her. "Don't worry, Rowena. As long as you stay by my side, nothing will happen." She looked at him and replied softly, "Yes." That night, in her bedroom, Sierra was sound asleep in the adjacent bed, while Rowena, right? Go and prepare for your departure. Ludovica walked past him, leaving Kadin with, "Even though His Highness Kadin said I'll be fine as long as I stay by his side, from what I've heard, this year, more demonic beasts have appeared than in previous years, so I need to be able to protect myself," she said to Saturn, who was standing behind her. "Ah, come to think of it, I've accumulated quite a bit of experience, haven't I?" He snapped his fingers. "Would you like to see?" "Prince, this is an order." The atmosphere in the room grew heavy. Kadin glared at her with extreme anger. Treat your own mother this way that there are rumors you've gone mad, isn't that right? Besides, the servant will just stay in the tent. The system displayed a notification. A suitable ability has been detected for the user. World Guide. Do you wish to select this role? Was standing behind her. Ah, come to think of it, I've accumulated quite a bit of experience, haven't I? He snapped his fingers. Would you like to see Guide? He smiled and replied, it's the one who holds the authority and power to lead the world. If a soul in this world is recognized as worthy of guiding this world, then that soul is granted the title and becomes the world's. Its skill window appeared in front of Rowena, and she exclaimed in awe, I've accumulated so much. Let me explain. I and the world are not one and the same. I am different from the world's guide. I am not the chosen one. Its skill window appeared in front of Rowena, and she exclaimed in awe, I've accumulated so much. That's why I have to rely on you. She nodded in agreement. Oh, you really are a strange being. Logically, you should be, called the world's administrator. And with such power, you should be incredibly strong. But the things you can actually do are very limited. Saturn said a little sadly. I know, right? I don't get it either. Anyway, just make your choice. Rowena touched the acquire button, and after, the system displayed a notification. A suitable ability has been detected for the user. World Guide. Do you wish to select this role? Sat at her desk, deep in thought. She doodled on a piece of paper and sighed. No matter how I think about it, I still feel uneasy. Guide. Rowena continued to ask, then are you also a world guide, Saturn? To combat, and his combat power will also increase. Rowena said admiringly. Choosing this one will make dealing with monsters much easier. Guide. Rowena continued to ask, then are you also a world guide, Saturn? Quickly said, you don't seem very interested, but just click on it and see. Rowena reluctantly chose, all right, fine. Ping Pong is a guide with little experience, who can borrow skills from others depending on their affection level for you, and a portion of the skill. Experience points will automatically be used for Rowena. It was painfully obvious that ping pong was not a good choice at all. She said that the phrase, can borrow skills, was appealing enough, but what made me hesitate was the line. Depending on their affection level. Plus, a portion of the skill experience points will be automatically used for something. Saturn. I have existed since the beginning of time. I don't have the authority to lead the world, so when it comes to destroying monsters. But he reached out his hand as if to choose for her, and Rowena reacted just in time. She yelled, Saturn, what are you doing? She went to press the no button. No, no, no. But Saturn played a dirty trick, while her hand was already on the no button. Then, Rowena pressed it. Because Saturn pulled a fast one, the no became a yes. The screen announced, character selection complete. Rowena, ID, ping pong. Rowena stared blankly at the notification, then shot him a dead fish stare. Saturn pretended to knock himself on the head and yelped, ouch! Rowena screamed in anger. Saturn! Furious, Rowena started hitting Saturn. What have you done? He quickly explained. I had my reasons for doing that, Rowena. She looked up, trembling as she interrogated him. Is that so? What reason could you possibly have? Let's hear it. Saturn was about to tease her some more, but seeing the furious look in Rowena's eyes, he stopped. That gaze is too intense. You're making me shy. Okay, I'll explain now. Himself on the head and yelped, ouch! Rowena screamed in anger. Saturn! Furious, Rowena started hitting Saturn. What have you done? He quickly. I realized that combat skills are the most important thing. He continued his questioning. But think about it. Rowena, back then, the monster revealed there was someone behind them, didn't it? Rowena's gaze fell. Behind them. In her mind, she pictured our glorious former queen, our great queen, Ludovica, Majesty. Rowena shut her eyes tightly. That's the queen's name, but it could just be someone with the same name, Saturn. Slowly continuing to explain, and as much as I hate to admit it, just try thinking about the words. Rumors of monsters were spreading throughout the imperial palace, and the monster she'd seen with her own eyes was one of the maids. Eventually, these kinds of monsters will appear all over the empire. There is only one person with that much influence. She crossed her arms and sighed wearily. I get why you did this now. You think that even if I increase my combat strength, it's useless, right? It's not like I can just charge in and swing a mop around like I did against that monster. He snapped his fingers and explained, that's right, but a soldier's skills have many more uses that are more versatile. Instantly, a notification appeared before Rowena, Linker, a soldier's special skill. You can use other people's abilities based on how much they like you, but the skills level will be lower. The penalty is smaller, the more they like you. As your proficiency with the soldier class goes up, the order of the skills you can borrow from others will also be adjusted. You can only share up to the other person's top 3 skills. She nodded in approval after reading the notification. Alright, this skill isn't bad, but what's this text over here? The screen showed another notification. Since you have not yet fully acquired this skill, you can't see the detailed information. Until you've completely mastered it, a portion of your experience points will be invested into it. The EXP needed to acquire it is a question mark. Saturn rubbed his chin and mused, this is indeed a major drawback. Rowena clenched her fists and swung her arm in anger. A major drawback? His next words shocked her to her core. Because once you master this skill, you won't even bother looking at any other skills. Rowena's face went pale with horror. In that case, that is the major drawback. Saturn pouted, making her freeze. I don't care. You already chose it anyway. So that's that. From now on, we just have to focus on figuring out how to best use this skill. Rowena was so shocked the color drained from her face. She clutched her head in agony, fell to her knees and screamed, "My life is so tragic." Outside, the silent night had already fallen. The next day, the first warm rays of sunlight shone down on the royal castle. The scene changes to a quiet study. Kadin stared blankly at Rowena, who looked gloomy and exhausted. "Good morning, Your Highness Kadin," he asked with concern. "Han Rowena, did you not sleep well?" She nodded sullenly. "Yes, that's right," Kadin said reassuringly. "Subjugating demonic beasts is a common occurrence. The commander-in-chief's forces probably won't face any major danger, so you don't need to worry." Rowena lowered her head and mumbled, "Yes, sir." She stared blankly, lost in thought, in her own thoughts. Even though His Highness said there wouldn't be any danger in the subjugation battles against the demonic beasts this year, our forces suffered severe losses because of a massive, overwhelming attack. But all the beasts were still annihilated. That's because a hand was raised and clenched into a fist. Rowena was startled back to the present. Kadin quickly noticed the change in her expression. The eyes of both of them turned toward the study door at the same time, where a figure was eavesdropping. That person called out, "Kadin, it's me." Rowena's face went pale with fear as she recognized the voice. He looked up and gave an order. "Is that Bruno? Let him in." She nodded obediently. "Oh, yes." Rowena turned to open the door, thinking, "There's no doubt about it, he's the one. The main force that annihilated all the demonic beasts that were rampaging everywhere this year." She stood nervously in front of the study door. Rowena reached out. Opening the door for the little hero of the Empire, she curtsied, "Welcome, Your Highness. Please come in." Bruno stepped into the study. Bruno of House Hunter Wayne, the heir of Duke Hunter Wayne. His gaze then fell upon Rowena, and Bruno gave a slight nod in greeting. "It's been a while, Idalia," she replied, flustered. "It's been a while, Lord Hunter Wayne." He walked past Rowena towards Kadin. "Are you here about tomorrow's expedition?" He nodded. "Yes, that's right. This is the young Duke Hunter Wayne, the main force that annihilated all the demonic beasts that were rampaging everywhere this year." She stood nervously in front of the study door. Rowena reached out. Rowena looked away, a thought weaving through her mind. In the not-so-distant future, she stared intently at the backs of Ludovica and Bruno as he carefully escorted her from the room. He will betray His Highness Kadin. Rowena stood pensively in a corner. I don't remember when he stopped being loyal to His Highness. However, before they left to subjugate the demonic beasts, I heard him and His Highness Kadin argue loudly many times. She flinched at the sound of Kadin's shouting. Rowena nervously clutched her skirt, looking towards where it came from. The shouting. Curious, she peeked into the room as Kadin's cold voice rang out. "I have nothing more to say to you, Bruno. You can leave now." Bruno lowered his head, his face full of resentment. He gritted his teeth in anger and uttered some final cutting words. "Fine, this is the last time I'll say this to you." Kadin smirked sarcastically. "Is that so?" Bruno radiated a furious aura, his voice full of reproach. "I don't know why you're being so negative, but I can't. Change your mind." A flash of anger crossed his eyes, and Bruno shut them tightly for a moment. His eyes widened in shock at Kadin's voice. In that case, not waiting for him to finish, Bruno turned to leave, decisively. "Farewell, Your Highness." Rowena's eyes widened in bewilderment as she peeked inside, and she scrambled to get away. Rowena froze against the wall as his feet stopped in front of her. Gritting her teeth, Rowena snuck a peek at Bruno and flinched when she saw his face. Seething with rage, Rowena broke into a nervous sweat. "Lord Hunter Wayne." Bruno froze, staring straight into her eyes. His lips moved as he announced, "Starting today, I probably won't be coming here anymore, Idalia." Rowena stared after Bruno's retreating back in a daze. He stopped and turned back to advise her. "You must take care of yourself." Kadin walked over to Bruno, saying something that looked extremely serious. She pressed her lips together, staring tensely towards the two of them. As they sat down to talk, Rowena quietly crept closer to watch. "His Highness Kadin must trust Lord Hunter Wayne a great deal, but I don't know what the future holds, so I will absolutely not trust him 100%. He asked calmly. "You have heard, haven't you, Bruno?" He replied stiffly. "Although you've participated in subjugating demonic beasts near the capital." Bruno put on a compliant face for Kadin, but he was resentful inside. Was it because he was about to depart to subjugate the demonic beasts? "What a fiery fighting spirit," he continued, to ask, "But this is your first time going to a dangerous area outside the city to subjugate demonic beasts, right?" He didn't seem bothered by it. "It's fine, I'm not weak enough to be injured by some demonic beast." Bruno cleared his throat to explain, "I also think the demonic beasts can do to you. After all, in this empire, there are very few people who can defeat you, but Idalia is different. She has almost never used any kind of weapon, has she?" He called out to Kadin. His whole body shook as he tried to stifle his laughter. "Ah, weapons? Even though she has barely ever used one, the way she swings her fists is still pretty deadly. You know." Hearing this, she yelled in embarrassment. "Your Highness Kadin, what in the world are you saying?" Bruno looked at them, bewildered. "Swinging her fists? Idalia, you know how to use a spear?" Rowena denied it in a fluster. "That's not it. So should I say I know how or that I don't?" Kadin burst out laughing teasingly. "Our Rowena even knows how to defeat a demonic beast with a mop." She heard Saturn's teasing laughter in her ear. That's right, our Rowena is incredible," Rowena muttered furiously. "You shut up!" Saturn. He stroked his chin thoughtfully for a moment before offering his opinion. "If she can defeat a demonic beast with a mop, then dealing with low-level demonic beasts should be no problem at all." Bruno thought to himself that most of the demonic beasts that appeared in the capital were low-level anyway. She replied with a forced laugh. "Is that so?" But inside, Rowena was worried. Those monsters. are considered low-level demonic beasts? As if reading her mind, he said, "As a precaution, I will prepare a long spear for you," Rowena asked blankly. "A long spear?" He urged her. "Take it, Rowena. My dear mother, Her Majesty the Queen, the one she wants to deal with is you." Her expression darkened, and she wondered, why would Her Majesty target a simple maid? Like me? Rowena looked up, shocked by Kadin's answer. "Even if you're just a maid, you are very important to me." She knew in her heart that because of Idalia, she was the only one His Highness Kadin kept by his side. She was essentially the prince's only confidant, so Her Majesty figured that whether for political or personal reasons, getting rid of her would be a blow to Kadin. He held his head and sighed, thinking that Her Majesty was probably just trying to vent her frustration. She must be thinking, "You brazenly removed a knight from my chessboard, which displeased me, so I will just have to do the same to you and make you suffer. This is my fault, Rowena." She frantically cut him off. "Not at all, Your Highness Kadin. On the contrary, I am the one who should be thanking you for taking that hit for me." Birno warned her worriedly. "You have to be careful, and not just of the demonic beasts." Idalia, her voice trembled with confusion. "What?" He continued on. "If the demonic beast subjugation squad does not run into any major danger, then you and Kadin will not have to charge onto the battlefield. But Her Majesty is the one who sent you, so her motive is definitely not that simple. Her Majesty is a very thorough person, so there is a high chance someone on the subjugation squad will be targeting you." Rowena forced an optimistic smile. "But if someone is looking at me with malicious intent, I am sure I will be able to tell." After getting a nod from Kadin, Birno continued, "The thing is, the atmosphere outside the city is completely different from the capital. It is not just that the types of demonic beasts are different, but the people who have risked life and limb fighting them will not exactly look at you kindly." There were things he did not dare say out loud. If there is something that cannot be solved by force, humans will resort to superstition. Birno stared thoughtfully into the distance for a moment before he continued his story. "There are rumors that the prince suffers from madness, and even more outrageous rumors that the prince is afflicted with. He's driven mad by a curse, and there are even rumors that the curse is why the prince won't let anyone get close. And then there's you, Idalia. You're the only one the cursed prince allows to serve by his side. That's why they will absolutely never be friendly to a maid who follows the prince like you." Hearing these words, Rowena could only press her lips together to stay calm. "So basically, I'm the one everyone hates now." Bruno sat down and reminded her. "Furthermore, we don't know how that person will approach you. They will most likely hide their hostile gaze and pretend to be friendly to get close to you. So don't trust anyone. You must always be on your guard." She parted her lips to ask, "Among those people?" Hearing these words, Rowena could only press her lips together to stay calm. "So basically, I'm the one everyone hates now." His pupils dilated in shock at her question. Bruno swallowed and then replied, "You can rest assured. I can promise you, I will absolutely not harm you, Idalia." Rowena lowered her gaze and thought, "Is that so? Even if this man betrays me later, His Highness Kadin has never posed any kind of threat to me." His stunned expression was still etched into her mind, and Rowena thought, although I don't know if that was his own will, or if he was just following someone else's orders. Her train of thought was cut off when she heard his cautionary voice. "Does that also include you, Sir Hunter?" Gwen Kadin's eyes widened in surprise as he looked at Rowena. "After all, demonic beasts aren't the only things that threaten us." Rowena nodded in understanding. "Yes, Your Highness Kadin." A stream of thoughts wandered through her mind, and just like that, while my heart was still uneasy, the day of departure to subjugate the demonic beasts arrived. Bruno sat down and reminded her. "Furthermore, we don't know how that person will approach you. They will most likely hide their hostile gaze. Rowena, remember to take care of yourself. You absolutely must come back safely." Rowena composed herself, chuckling in response. "Well, I'll always be by His Highness's side, so I'm sure nothing will happen." Ciela warned her worriedly. "The place you're going to is crawling with demonic beasts." On a new day, Rowena, dressed in a knight's uniform, forced a smile as she accepted everyone's well wishes. "That's why Ansia and I braided this together, but we were short on time, so we could only make a short one." A white bracelet was tied onto Rowena's wrist by Ciela. She was stunned and moved. "This is..." She chuckled and explained. "The people from the military division taught us this knot. They said this is called a protective charm." Touched, Rowena placed a hand on her chest. "They must have rushed to weave this for me during their breaks and before bed." Her cheeks flushed as she promised. "Thank you, everyone. I will definitely return safely." A white bracelet was tied onto Rowena's wrist by Ciela. She was stunned and moved. "This is..." All the judging stares and hushed whispers were directed at her. Rowena was flustered and stood frozen on the spot. A white bracelet was tied onto Rowena's wrist by Ciela. She was stunned and moved. "This is..." "Idalia, over here. Since you have to serve His Highness the Prince, you'll be riding in the same carriage with him. I'll be nearby to protect you both. So don't worry, we're about to depart." She carefully stepped into the carriage and replied, "Yes." As soon as she got on, Rowena's gaze met Kadin's. He looked so tired. It made her worry. "Your Highness Kadin, would you like some water?" Kadin shook his head, refusing. "No need, I'm fine. I just sneezed, you don't need to worry." Rowena nodded and replied, "Yes," but her mind was still tangled with thoughts. The reason there's a rumor. They say the reason His Highness the Prince has these violent fits is because whenever someone gets near him, he immediately starts to show symptoms of nausea and rejection. Although there are occasionally people who make him uncomfortable, those instances are really Very rare. After everything was arranged, Berno gave a clear order to depart, but it didn't break her train of thought. It seems that he reacted so strongly because there were too many people around him today. At times like this, His Highness prefers to rest. I'll check my skills again, Rowena softly called out to Saturn. I want to see the skill menu again. Saturn immediately granted her request, and a system interface appeared before her eyes. Rowena, carefully, read it again. Based on the favorability level here, what exactly is the required level? He appeared beside her and explained. How should I put it? It's like they have to genuinely want to help you, Rowena, but if they've only met you once or have just a little bit of favorability, it's not enough. She smiled wryly. So that's how it is? Rowena sighed and fell back into thought. Because of this skill, I have to reevaluate all my relationships. Saturn covered his mouth to hide a chuckle as the information board updated. Individuals available to lend skills. Sierra, Li Gwen, Ansia Lambert. She waved her hand in annoyance. Ugh, this isn't accurate. At all. I mean, His Highness Kadin has helped me so much, so why isn't he on here? He clasped his hands together to explain. He's the king of that world. If you want to borrow the power of someone like him, Rowena called out in confusion. Saturn? He dropped his hands, flustered. Ah, my apologies. I was just reminded of something else. If you want to borrow the power of someone like that, you'd pretty much have to hold the whole world in your hands, right? She asked curiously. You're not on the list either. Is it for the same reason? Because you're the administrator of this world? He didn't deny it. That's right. Just as I'd expect from you, Rowena. You're so quick to figure things out. Oh, and for a select few, if you want to borrow their power, favorability alone is not enough. Rowena's face went pale. What else do I need? She panicked internally. Isn't that a ridiculously unfair condition? Saturn burst out laughing to reassure her. Don't worry. There are very few people like that. They are the world's guides. Rowena's eyes widened in shock, repeating, the world's guides? He continued explaining. They are the ones who lead an immature world down the path toward prosperity, which is why they cannot arbitrarily lend their power to anyone. In order to borrow their power, you absolutely must receive an oath from them directly. She pouted and replied, Ah, is that? Furthermore, Hunter Quen will also be joining the demonic beast subjugation team, so there's absolutely no chance of anything happening to make you uneasy. Is truly incredible. With an attitude, Rowena propped her chin on her hand and stared out the window. It's not like I have anyone like that around me. So? Saturn flashed a perfectly pleasant smile, then began to sweat nervously. Why the long face? It might be a little troublesome, but their power, to do? The carriage fell silent. Saturn smirked knowingly. Who knows? About that? Maybe right beside you. An image of Berno flashed in his mind. She sat silently with a pout, listening to Saturn, down the path toward prosperity, which is why they cannot arbitrarily lend their power to be able to borrow their power. Rowena adamantly denied it. There's no one like that. He switched to a teasing tone. Oh my, Rowena. If that person heard you say that, they'd probably be very hurt, you know? She gritted her teeth, annoyed. Then why don't you just tell me who it is? Who that is? Saturn immediately refused. The heaven's secrets cannot be revealed, even if I told you. I'm not sure you could comprehend it. Rowena was furious now. Fine, just fine. A suspicion started to form in her mind. Could Saturn have lied to me? Before long, the entire area was bathed in the sunset's glow, and the neighing of horses echoed through the quiet air as the wheels gradually slowed to a complete stop. Bruno approached the carriage door and knocked. Kadin clutched his head and glanced outside. What is it? He announced, Your Highness, we have arrived. Rowena breathed a sigh of relief. I thought for sure we'd have to sleep outdoors tonight. I didn't expect us to get here so fast. He slowly explained. The road to the demonic beast subjugation area was only recently constructed. I heard they used magic to tunnel through the mountain to make the path, but of course, not. Everyone is allowed to use this road. Anyway, let's get out. Kadin quickly composed himself and stepped out of the carriage. She followed him down, and the color instantly drained from Rowena's face. Tents had already been set up by the other knights, who were gathered in groups, tending to their own tasks. The sound of busy footsteps suddenly stopped, and all eyes turned towards her. But they were all sharp, malicious glares. Rowena turned pale and broke into a cold sweat. She could feel that their stares held no goodwill. Kadin glanced back and noticed Rowena's state, but he just kept walking toward his tent. All eyes and whispers were directed at her. Rowena silently trailed behind Kadin. He lifted the tent flap and went inside, and she followed him in. Kadin ran a hand through his hair and ordered, Rowena, it's better if you stay with me. A flustered Rowena asked, You want me to stay in your tent? He carefully explained, I could arrange for you to share a tent with the other knights, but you could be in danger that way. However, there's one problem. She looked where Kadin was pointing as he continued to speak. There's only one bed in here. If you stay here, you'll have to sleep on the sofa. Rowena fell silent, hesitating. Between the two choices, one was uncomfortable but safe, while the other was more comfortable but dangerous. Safety won by a landslide, so she made her decision. I'll sleep on the sofa then. Very quickly, the entire camp was enveloped in the quiet of the night. Rowena wandered outside with her things. Now that I've gotten the supplies, I should hurry back to the tent. A group of knights sat huddled by the fire, bad-mouthing her. She's that handmaiden, isn't she? She won't pass the curse to us, will she? She clenched her fists, trying to act like she didn't care, even though she didn't want to hear those ridiculous rumors. It was still hard to avoid overhearing a few things. Rowena suddenly froze when she heard a voice call out, Want to eat with us? She turned her head toward the voice and saw it was Aaron. He looked up at her with a cold, sharp gaze, and Rowena involuntarily shivered with fear. She quickly turned and fled, running back to Kadin's tent. The others who were left didn't hold back their displeasure. We're all clearly servants here, but it seems she doesn't like to eat with people like us. Aaron, however, said, "Just drop it. She's probably just used to serving someone of high status." Karen then chimed in, "I heard she has been serving His Highness since he was a child. From then until now." Neil then expressed his admiration for Rowena. "So you're saying she knew His Highness the Prince suffered from his bouts of madness and still stayed by his side to serve him? That's really impressive." His eyes widened in wonder. "Is that so? But who knows? His Highness was already suffering from madness before she began serving him." Tearing up, moved, "If that's the case, then she's even more incredible. Because she has always stayed by His Highness's side, never leaving him, and remaining completely loyal," Jason scoffed. "Who's to say? Maybe that maid is the very reason His Highness had a relapse." Neo snapped and yelled, "Hey! How can you say something like that?" He clenched his fists in anger. "Am I wrong? Isn't she the only one serving His Highness? Besides, the way His Highness always relies on her is suspicious too." Inside Kadin's tent, Rowena spread a blanket on the floor, carefully adjusting it under the chair. Flustered, Rowena turned to look at the table, and suddenly remembered, I forgot to get a pillow. I want to go get one, but I don't want to face their stares and all the whispering behind my back again. Maybe I should just sleep without it?" She turned her head toward the voice. Rowena pulled aside the tent flap and asked, "Are you looking for me?" Neo spoke shyly. "It's nothing really. I just noticed you seem to have forgotten your pillow, and also, it gets very cold in the mountains at night, so it's better to sleep with a hot water pack." She took the pillow from him and quietly thanked him. Neo shook his head in admiration. "Don't mention it. I think you're amazing, being able to serve such an esteemed person with such devotion." Rowena humbly deflected the compliment. "No, not at all. It's not as grand as you make it sound." He smiled, appearing. "Friendly, my name is Neo. If you need anything, just tell me. I figured you might feel awkward." Neo shook his head in admiration. "Don't mention it. I think you're amazing, being able to serve such an esteemed person with such devotion." Dealing with the other knights, she bowed her head gratefully. "Okay, thank you for your kindness." The next day, the first rays of sun. Attack. Plus, I've been sleeping with His Highness Kadin for a whole week now, and not only has no one tried to get close to me, but thanks to Neo looking out for me, I haven't even had to interact with the others, so I've let my guard down a little. A tragic scene flashed through Rowena's mind, not even realizing when the danger had appeared. On a clear morning at the camp, Rowena was on watch when someone called out, "Rowena." It was Neo. He smiled brightly, holding a cup of tea. "Come drink this, Rowena," she asked him curiously. "What is this?" He explained cheerfully. "It's a tea to help you relax and relieve fatigue. Since we're fighting mana beasts and setting up camp right on the spot, it's hard for anyone to sleep well." Jason and Karen each have a cup too. Rowena replied, "Oh, so everyone is drinking this?" Neo smiled brightly and said, "The prince probably has his own drink, so for us servants, we can only look after each other like this." Hearing that, Rowena thought silently, "Look after each other, huh? That makes sense, even though I can't really fit in with the subjugation team. I still get to have this tea. Thanks to Neo, this is so warm." She suddenly said, "Thank you, Neo." He replied, "No, there's no need to be so formal. It's nothing to thank me for." Rowena looked up at the sky, thinking quietly, if only things could stay this peaceful. For just 2 more days, then we can go back safely. A loud noise startled Rowena and Neo, and the air instantly grew tense. A shout rang out. "An attack!" Jason yelled. "An attack! A horde of mana beasts is attacking us from the front." He replied, "No, there's no need to be so formal. It's nothing to thank me for." Rowena looked up at the sky, thinking quietly, if only things could stay this peaceful. And back, a horde of mana beasts of all grotesque shapes appeared. An impatient hand quickly. He turned to Aaron and shouted, "Aaron!" Placing a hand on his chest, he replied, "Yes, Sir Hunter Wade," Burno commanded. "I'm putting you in charge of the rear guard. You and His Highness the Prince will stop the magic beasts attacking the rear of the camp." He immediately accepted the order. "At your command." Suddenly, Bruno looked over at Rowena. He anxiously hurried over to her. "Rowena, I have to stop the magic beasts attacking from both sides. I can't stay with you. Don't leave Kadin's side. And one more thing, you absolutely must take the spear I prepared for you." Rowena understood. "Yes." He pursed his lips, reminding her, "You have to be safe." Then Bruno quickly departed. As Rowena watched in astonishment, he began seriously directing and commanding the others. Rowena just stood there, watching him. Hurried footsteps echoed as spears were raised high. Kadin commanded the others, and the atmosphere instantly shifted. Rowena understood. "Yes." He pursed his lips, reminding her, "You have to be safe." Then Bruno quickly departed. "Can you stay in the tent alone?" Her heart skipped a beat at his words. "Sir Hunter Gwen and His Highness Kadin both won't be here." Kadin gritted his teeth, his expression darkening. "I can't believe the magic beasts are attacking from both sides. Rowena, I have to go to the front lines to hold them back. Rather than stay in the tent alone, it would be better to go with His Highness Kadin." Immediately, Rowena spoke up. "No, I want to go with you." All eyes in the camp were on them. In the dark forest, Rowena nervously clutched the spear in her hand as she walked beside Kadin. A magic beast let out a terrifying shriek, signaling its pack. Everyone immediately drew their bows and took aim. "Fire!" As the command rang out, everyone instantly loosed their arrows. Kadin raised his hand, summoning his power. Then he swung his arm, sending the spell flying towards its target. The magic beasts, struck by arrows, howled in pain. Another was caught in Kadin's spell, but luckily dodged out of the way. Suddenly, one of the magic beasts froze in place. Its milky white eyes shot wide open. Suddenly, horrifying whispers echoed out, making Kadin's eyes widen in fear. The king has been found. The World King. To rule the world we must. The arrows in Kadin's spells continued to fly through the air, successfully striking a few of the magic beasts. Kadin quickly moved to shield Rowena, which caught her attention. The magic beasts are attacking this way. No, to be more precise. They're attacking His Highness Kadin. The situation is chaotic. Adjust the battle formation. The magic beasts are charging. Someone raised a hand to whistle. Protect His Highness the Prince. Suddenly, a system window appeared. Your skill, emotional amplification, is spreading. Rowena's eyes widened as she froze in place. The scene before her blurred. What's going on? The magic beast's target is His Highness Kadin. The hand clutching her spear started to tremble. I feel so sick. My heart is pounding. If His Highness the Prince dies, what will happen? He promised he would protect me. If His Highness the Prince dies, doesn't that mean I'll die too? Then, Rowena tightened her grip on the spear, muttering, I have to protect His Highness the Prince. I have to protect His Highness Kadin. In that moment, an intense fear consumed me, and I lost consciousness. The system notifications kept popping up. Your innate skill, time reversal, has been activated. By the time I regained consciousness, I was still fighting the magic beasts. I have no idea how many times I died, but it seemed I fought until the whole pack was wiped out. That beast, saving His Highness Kadin, is my one and only purpose. That's what you said, Rowena. Her heart filled with a mix of determination and hatred, she stared straight at the beasts and raised her spear to attack. Rowena leaped into the air, then immediately plunged her spear straight into it, executing a perfect landing. Her pupils contracted, reflecting utter terror as the notification window continuously flashed. Your innate skill. Time reversal has been activated. She clenched her jaw, and once again, Rowena struck the beast with a full spear thrust, but another monster clawed her across the back. The system chimed in again. Your innate skill. Time reversal has been activated. Your innate skill, time reversal, has been activated. A trembling hand reached for the notification window as Saturn pleaded anxiously. No, don't do it, Rowena. The system activated once again. Your innate skill, time reversal, has been activated. Time reversal has been activated. In that moment, Saturn's face was tense as he whispered with a quiver in his voice. Time reversal has been activated. Your innate skill, time reversal, has been activated. A trembling hand reached for the notification window as Saturn pleaded anxiously. No, don't do it, Rowena. The system activated once again. The administrator is attempting to interfere with the skill time reversal. Your innate skill time reversal has been activated. Nearby, a beast roared wildly. He looked at the system panel in despair. Attention. Due to prioritizing the player's will to survive, the administrator cannot interfere with skill usage. Again and again, the system notifications chaotically popped up. Without stopping, your innate skill, time reversal, has been activated. Saturn was helpless. Kneeling with his head bowed in despair, he choked out, Why? Why can't I do anything this time? In a mysterious part of the forest, a horde of beasts gathered, their frenzied attention fixed on Rowena. Her eyes burned with a fierce will to fight. Kadin's hands were also covered in blood, his sharp slashes finishing off foes with swift precision. Cannot interfere with skill usage. Again and again, the system notifications chaotically popped up. In a mysterious part of the forest, a horde of beasts gathered, their frenzied attention fixed on Rowena. Her eyes flashed as she suddenly noticed something was wrong and yelled, Get back! A buffalo-horned beast was about to pounce on him, its sharp claws ready to seize everyone. A desperate scream rang out. Your Highness Kadin! A knight turned around and exclaimed, She's just a lowly maid. How can she have this kind of power? Was she trained before or something? What is happening? She's just a servant. No way, I can't believe it. Another person added grimly, Indeed, this is very hard to believe. Everyone began to murmur, What's going on with her? There has to be some other reason. That person agreed. Yes, there's definitely another reason. Right, exactly. So, maybe. Could it be that she's the one who lured the beasts here? Karen refused to believe it. No, that's impossible. An agitated Jason snapped, If that's not it, then how do you explain this sudden spike in the number of beasts? Karen thought it over and had to admit, That's true. Compared to last year, the number of beasts this time really has increased so much. But could someone really do this? A cold, emotionless voice whispered chillingly, Of course, isn't there? Some kind of curse? Like dark magic or something? Even His Highness the Prince is suffering from madness. So what's so impossible about summoning demonic beasts? Karen was shocked. So then, does that rumor mean that Maid cursed His Highness the Prince? The mysterious voice agreed. I suppose so. Kadin couldn't deny it. Yes, that must be it. She is the one who cursed His Highness the Prince. But why? Would she do that? What does she gain from cursing His Highness the Prince? Aaron pondered and then spoke. That doesn't matter. The motives of dark mages are completely unimportant. They'll do anything for their own benefit. Karen thought that made sense. That's right, killing one or two people means nothing to them. He touched Aaron's arm and handed him the bow. Aaron looked at Rowena, and a thought came to him that Maid summoned the demonic beasts. If she still doesn't get what she wants, she might summon even more of them, and yet she's still stubbornly fighting those ferocious demonic beasts. Aaron made a bold decision, so kill her. Before she summons any more demonic beasts, kill that Maid. Just then, Rowena finished off a pack of demonic beasts and sighed in relief. It's over. She was overjoyed. It's over, I did it. I protected His Highness Kadin. He walked towards her and stammered, Rowena, you. Rowena. She asked him cheerfully, Your Highness Kadin, are you all right? It's all over now. Your Highness Kadin, let's go home now. Before he could react, Rowena fell into his arms, 4 or 5 arrows lodged in her back, with blood pouring out, like water. Kadin already knew this would happen, but his heart still clenched. Rowena. The mysterious figure manipulating him spoke, You must remember this, Your Highness, that humans always fear the unknown, how arrogant and stubborn they are. Aaron looked over, bow in hand, as the mysterious voice, which was Ludovica's, continued, and how cruel they become when they stubbornly cling to their own beliefs. She thought to herself, however, that's precisely what makes them so lovely, isn't it? Is it because they are such genuine living things that they can act this way? She closed her eyes, and nodded slightly. You are right, Owen. Humanity is truly adorable. So adorable they would even sacrifice the life of the one they cherish most. That is why I hope you do not fall in love with the humans living on this land, my child, Kadin. Saturn gently held Rowena, his voice choked with emotion. If you still refuse to give up, let's start over. Okay, let's start over, but before we do, please, just rest for a little while, alright? You're safe here, very safe. Rowena could feel his warmth, but her consciousness was fading. I want to wipe away the tears of the one who has watched me die over and over again while remembering everything, but I no longer have the strength to lift my hand. Once again, the system activated. Your innate skill, time reversal, has been activated, returning to the administrator-designated checkpoint. Once again, when Rowena opened her eyes, she was sitting in a carriage. She was stunned by how sudden it all was. Rowena quickly peeked out the window, seeing nothing but forest all around. Looking closer, she saw knights training on horseback, and in another direction, people practicing with their bows. Her gaze suddenly stopped. When Aaron was spotted, he instinctively looked back. Suddenly, he glared menacingly, frightening Rowena until her face turned pale. She instinctively turned away and tried to hide. Aaron just stood there watching Rowena suspiciously, staring silently at the car. Rowena lowered her head and quietly called out to Saturn. A gentle voice replied, Yes. Rowena clenched her fists tightly. Her heart was heavy with turmoil. Why did that person shoot me? Did I do something wrong? To think that the one who killed me wasn't a monster, but a human. Saturn looked at her with a troubled expression, reluctantly preparing to explain. I'll explain it to you. Did you notice? Before you killed the monster, your thoughts and actions were a little strange? Hearing that, Rowena felt incredibly ashamed. Back then, I felt nauseous, and my heart was pounding. It's true that at that moment, my thoughts were extremely radical. I don't know why, but I was genuinely terrified. I could only think of one thing. If His Highness Kadin were to be killed by the monster, I would die too. Why was I like that? It's so strange. After that, I was killed by the monster over and over again. I'll explain it to you. Did you notice? Before you killed the monster, your thoughts and actions were a little strange? Hearing that, Rowena felt. Were to be killed by the monster, I would die too. Why was I like that? It's so strange. After that, I was killed by the monster over and over again. He held up a system window that read, Your skill, emotion amplification effect is spreading. Rowena was confused. What is this? Rowena still seemed a bit overwhelmed by all the new information. The system window explained in detail. He held up a system window that read, Your skill, emotion amplification effect is spreading. Rowena was confused. What is this? And over again. Saturn brought up the system and cut her off. You became like that because of Sutton. Grasped and understood the target's emotions. You can manipulate those feelings to guide their actions. Rowena started, racking her brain. We experienced the same thing? She hazarded a guess. Someone used a skill on me? Before Rowena could finish her sentence, Saturn cut in. Ordinary people don't know that skills exist, nor can they use them. Even if they did, a skill would only activate unconsciously. In other words, someone who can consciously activate a skill definitely knows how to use them. And the only people who know how to use skills are a world's guide, or someone who has been granted permission by an administrator, someone who truly understands skills. Rowena asked, An administrator? Does that mean permission from you, Saturn? He calmly continued, It's not just me. Anyone who obtains my power, or possesses a power similar to mine, could also do it. Rowena still didn't fully understand what he was saying. A power similar to yours? Saturn continued his explanation. Under normal circumstances, that would be impossible. After all, each world only has one administrator. But that skill wasn't activated by you or this world's guide, a being of darkness. Rowena felt a little scared, thinking they were getting in too deep. Saturn began to theorize a little while ago. Impossible. After all, each world only has one administrator. But that skill wasn't activated by you or this world's guide. What he was saying, a power similar to yours? Saturn continued his explanation. Under normal circumstances, that would be right? She asked, bewildered. Does that mean Her Majesty is the one controlling this monster too? Saturn answered with certainty. Correct. The one who can summon those monsters is a being of darkness. It can only be them. This is a special skill that only someone. Just like that, Rowena pictured a terrible future after hearing those words. So you're saying even my death was planned by Her Majesty the Queen? This time, Saturn wasn't so sure. What he was saying, a power similar to yours? Saturn continued his explanation. Under normal circumstances, that would be. Then she thought to herself, It seems like this can't be solved with brute force this time. And Saturn completely agreed with her thought. That's right, this time the shadow lurking in the dark is using a borrowed knife to kill. He pointed at the arrows, signaling silently. Rowena was still flustered. So what should I do now? But Saturn suddenly disappeared. Kadin suddenly sat down in front of her. He looked tired. Is something wrong? Someone answered, Your Highness, we have arrived. Racking her brain. We experienced the same thing? She hazarded a guess. Someone used a skill on me? Before Rowena could finish her sentence, Kadin suddenly sat down in front of her. He looked tired. Is something wrong? Someone answered, Your Highness, we have arrived. Kadin suddenly sat down in front of her. He looked tired. Is something wrong? Someone answered, Your Highness, we have arrived. Let's get down first. Rowena quickly followed behind. She still seemed hesitant. Saturn's earlier words were still ringing in her head. Rowena was still flustered. So what should I do now? But Saturn suddenly disappeared. Rowena confirmed, It's among these people. Rowena came to a conclusion. If that's the case, then when evening comes, everyone will gather to warm themselves by the fire. Rowena huddled in a corner, observing silently. She had become more cautious than ever. My past failure made me realize that I can't solve anything by always hiding behind His Highness Kadin. Rowena walked over to Aaron's group and greeted them softly. Ah, sorry to bother you. My name is Rowena. Rowena huddled in a corner, observing silently. She had become more cautious than ever. A system notification appeared. Your linker skill has been activated. Skill link target. From their heart. Kareen shyly welcomed her. Of course you can. Please have a seat. My past failure made me realize that I can't solve anything by always hiding behind His Highness Kadin. Rowena noticed he was forcing himself to talk to her. Only Aaron remained silent, observing the situation, making Rowena flustered. He let out a soft sigh. Finally, Aaron replied politely, Sit over here. Rowena was still shy. Thank you. After that, he fell silent again, not saying a word. It was as if his eyes were hiding a secret. The night ended just like that. Early the next morning, sitting inside the house, Rowena and Kadin were talking. He was curious. You said you wanted to get to know the knights? She answered honestly. Yes. Although, it might be dangerous, but not all the knights here are assassins anyway. Kadin gently called out to Rowena. You can reverse time, turn life and death. I believe you must have a good reason for saying that. If you need help, you can tell me anytime, Rowena replied, moved. Yes, thank you, Your Grace. When night came, Rowena sat outside, deep in thought. The night ended just like that. Early the next morning, sitting inside the house, he is Aaron Hitler, the captain of the second squad of the neighboring Demon Beast Annihilation team. A friendly guy struck up a conversation.